On the night of my wedding, I saw my husband confess his love to another woman, my best friend. I remember the coldness in my hands as I clutched my bouquet tighter, the loud celebration muffled by the ringing in my ears. The string lights above our garden venue twinkled like stars, but everything felt hollow. I was supposed to be happy. I had just married Daniel, my college sweetheart. Everyone said we were the perfect couple, and my best friend since childhood, Maya, had planned most of the wedding. Everything looked like a dream. Until I saw them. I had wandered off to find him, Daniel. He hadn't answered his phone for over an hour. That's when I heard them behind the hedge. Daniel's voice was low but unmistakable. I love you, Maya. I always have. I only married her because I didn't know how to say it, and Maya, she whispered back, then be with me now. I didn't even know how. I walked away. The heel of my wedding shoe snapped. I remember the pain in my ankle, but it was nothing compared to the shattering inside me. I ran through the parking lot, through the rain that had just begun to fall. I never saw the car coming. The headlights came too fast. I remember the screech of tires, the scream that may have been mine, and then darkness, total, crushing, suffocating blackness. Time became meaningless. There was no pain, no sound, no sight, only fragments of memories that floated in and out like ghosts. Laughter, a birthday cake, my mother's voice, Daniel's promises, Maya's smile, but something inside me fought. A whisper in my mind kept repeating, "You don't deserve this. Wake up. You still have time." And then, like a bolt of lightning, everything came rushing back. I sat up in bed, gasping for air, but something was wrong. I was in my old apartment, the small studio I had rented during my early 20s, before Daniel and I had moved in together. The calendar on the wall showed a date from 2 years ago. I blinked. My chest tightened. This wasn't a dream. I had been reborn. At first, I thought I was hallucinating. But everything around me was exactly how it had been 2 years earlier. The scratch on the kitchen counter, the faint water stain on the ceiling, the squeaky drawer in my desk. I reached for my phone. The lock screen confirmed it. April 7th, 2023. 4 years before the wedding, before Daniel's proposal, before Maya's betrayal. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. This was real. Somehow, fate had handed me a second chance. And this time, I wasn't going to be the same foolish girl who loved blindly and trusted too easily. No, this time, I would protect myself. This time, I would rewrite everything. Waking up in the past was like standing at a crossroads, watching your old life unfold ahead of you, but with a map in your hand and the knowledge of every pitfall. The first thing I did was block Daniel. Yes, just like that. No explanations. No emotional messages. No tears. Because I remembered. It started with small things. Him texting Maya late at night. Him saying I was overreacting when I questioned his vague answers. Him calling her just a friend. And I, the girl I used to be, accepted it all in the name of love. But not this time. This time, I walked right past his coffee invitation on campus. He was shocked. Of course, Daniel wasn't used to being ignored. He followed me for a few days, tried to joke, tried to charm. I smiled politely. But I never stopped. And Maya, I saw her at the student center 3 days after my rebirth. Her bright, fake smile greeted me, arms wide open as if she hadn't planned to destroy me in my previous life. "Girl, I missed you," she squealed. I just looked at her, and instead of hugging her back, I stepped aside. You don't need to fake it. We both know how this ends, I said calmly. Her smile twitched. What are you talking about? I leaned closer and whispered. Tell Daniel I said hi. And I walked away. It was a small moment, but it was power. Reclaiming the version of me who cried in bathrooms and asked, what did I do wrong? I wasn't her anymore. I began focusing on me. It wasn't easy at first. Healing never is. I had to fight every urge to fall into old patterns, apologizing when I didn't need to, overgiving just to keep someone around. Instead, I applied for that design internship I had once been too scared to try. I attended yoga at sunrise. I cut off toxic friendships, even the ones I used to think I couldn't live without, and slowly, I started seeing her in the mirror, the woman I was meant to become. Not Daniel's fiancée, not Maya's sidekick, just me. Free, strong, reborn. By the third month of living this new life, I had transformed so much that even I barely recognized myself. I didn't cry over unreturned texts. I didn't chase love. I became still, clear, focused. That's when I met him. Not Daniel. Not someone loud and flashy with practiced charm. But Elias. He was in the same design seminar as me, a transfer student from another campus. He rarely spoke unless called on, but when he did, his words held weight, thoughtful, quiet, like he'd lived lifetimes in silence. We were paired for a final project. I remember the first time I noticed his eyes, gentle, steady, and always observing. At first, we kept things professional. Meetings in CAFS, shared notes, brainstorming sessions, but somewhere in between the long conversations about design, art, and childhood memories, something shifted. He noticed things others didn't, like how I never looked at my phone for long, how I always seemed alert around groups, how I paused before trusting. One day, after class, he asked gently, did someone hurt you before? I froze. No one had ever asked so directly, so kindly. I looked away. Yes, but I'm okay now, he nodded, not asking for details, just accepting my answer, and that meant everything. Over the next few weeks, Elias became a steady presence in my life. He never pushed, never rushed. He brought me soup when I was sick. He sent me playlists when he sensed I was down. He encouraged me to enter a national design contest, which I eventually won, something I never thought I could do. He never once made me feel like I had to earn his love, and for the first time in my life, love felt quiet, safe, real. But just when my heart began to open again, the past came knocking. It started with a text from an unknown number. Hey, I know this is random, but can we talk? Daniel. I stared at the screen, lips curling into a bitter smile. 2 years ago, I would agonized over how to respond, if I should sound angry, heartbroken, forgiving. I would have cried, obsessed, hoped. But not anymore. I deleted the message without replying. Later that week, I saw him on campus. He looked different. Not just older, but lost. Maybe he could feel it too, that something had changed. That the girl who used to orbit around him no longer existed. He caught up with me outside the design building. Wait just a minute, he panted. You've been avoiding me. I turned to face him with perfect calm. I've been choosing myself, I said. He blinked. I just wanted to talk. You disappeared. We had something real. No, I cut in. You lied. You loved someone else and used me as your backup plan. There's no we left to talk about. His face twisted. Maybe he expected me to yell, cry, beg. Instead, I smiled politely and walked past him. Maya reached out next. This time, it was a long message, full of fake remorse and spiritual-sounding excuses. I was in a dark place back then. I never meant to hurt you. You were always like a sister to me. I didn't bother replying, because sisters don't sleep with your fiancé behind your back. Sisters don't steal your life. What shocked me most wasn't that they tried to come back. It was how little power they now had over me. That's what healing does. It doesn't erase the pain. It just removes the poison they once left behind. And when I told Elias about it finally, all of it, he simply held my hand and said, "You don't have to explain. Just know I'm proud of you." I had never cried harder. Not from heartbreak, but from the safety of finally being seen. That summer, everything blossomed. My designs were featured in an art magazine. I landed a spot in an elite internship program one I had once been too afraid to apply for. My confidence grew. My world expanded. And through it all, Elias remained steady, supportive and gentle. We weren't perfect. We had differences, disagreements. But there was never manipulation, never betrayal. Just two people choosing each other day after day. And then, one golden evening under a canopy of stars, Elias surprised me. We were walking through a local art exhibit, a fundraiser he helped organize. At the final installation, a room filled with hanging sketches and handwritten love notes from anonymous visitors, he turned to me with a nervous smile. From his pocket, he pulled out a small ring box. No fanfare, no audience, just him and me. And a promise. "This ring doesn't mean I complete you. It means I see you. All of you. And I want to keep walking this path with you. For as long as you'll let me." My heart burst open. For a moment, I flashed back to the other proposal. Daniel's grand and loud, designed for Instagram. And how empty it had felt. This time, it felt warm, true, whole. I said yes with tears in my eyes. Word spread fast. Within a week, Daniel found out. I only knew because he showed up at my design showcase uninvited. He looked stunned, like someone had pulled the rug from under his life. "You're engaged?" he asked quietly. I nodded, calm. Yes, to him. To someone who didn't pretend to love me while loving someone else. Daniel stepped back, eyes searching mine. "You've changed." "No," I corrected. "I just stopped shrinking." And as I turned to rejoin Elias, I saw that flicker of panic. Because he realized he'd lost me, not the girl he once kept on a string, but the woman I had become. The final time I saw Maya was unplanned. It was at a small charity event hosted by mutual university friends. I almost didn't go, but something inside me whispered, "You're ready." She spotted me near the refreshment table and hesitated, then approached like someone tiptoeing through a minefield. "Hey," she began. "You look good." Her eyes darted to the ring on my finger, the one Elias had given me. "Thanks," I said calmly, offering no warmth, but no venom either. There was an awkward silence. Then she sighed. "I guess you won, huh?" I blinked at her. "This isn't a competition, Maya." She flinched. "I just meant Daniel and we didn't work out. He's still blaming me for everything." I sipped my drink, nonchalant. "Maybe that's something you two should consider before betraying someone who trusted you." She looked down. "I know. I messed up. I just didn't think you'd ever recover. Not like this." That sentence said it all. She didn't regret hurting me. She regretted that I'd survived it, that I'd grown, that I'd found joy elsewhere. That her power over me was gone. I didn't respond. Because some victories don't need a MIC drop. They just need peace. And I had it. That night, I walked home hand in hand with Elias, our fingers intertwined like poetry. No more ghosts. No more what ifs. Just quiet love, steady healing, real happiness. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to prove anything. I was just living. Fully. Freely. Hope you are still listening the story. If you stayed so far, please hit the subscribe button. Comment below your thoughts. Okay, let's start the rest of the story. A year later, I walked down the aisle again. But this time, my hands weren't shaking from fear. My smile wasn't forced. My heart wasn't heavy. There was no betrayal waiting behind hedges. There was only Elias standing at the altar, eyes full of love, his fingers nervously fidgeting with the ring. We held our wedding in a small garden surrounded by wildflowers, close friends, and our chosen family. Nothing extravagant, nothing performative, just intimacy, authenticity, and joy. As I walked toward him, time slowed. The wind caught my veil like a whisper of the past. I could almost see the shadow of the girl I used to be standing off to the side in her first wedding gown, heartbroken, bleeding inside. But instead of looking away, I smiled at her. You survived. You rose. Look where we are now. And in that moment I knew I hadn't just moved on. I had evolved. When Elias said his vows, he didn't talk about perfection. He talked about growth, about fighting together when things got hard, about choosing kindness over pride, about being each other's peace, not each other's storm. When it was my turn, I didn't promise to always smile or always be strong. I promised to be honest. To show up with all my scars and still love him deeply. Because love wasn't about grand gestures. It was about showing up again and again. And as we exchanged rings under the soft sunset glow, I realized something. This wasn't a happily ever after in the fairy tale sense. It was better. It was real. 3 months into my marriage with Elias, I received an unexpected email. Subject line: I'm sorry, from Daniel. Curiosity 1. I opened it. It wasn't dramatic. No begging. No long declarations. Just a few quiet lines. I saw your wedding photos. You looked happy. I've never seen you like that before. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know I finally understand what I lost. I stared at the message for a long time. Not out of hurt. Not out of nostalgia. But out of peace. Because once upon a time, I would craved those words. I would needed them to feel closure, to move on. But now, I didn't need his apology to validate my healing. I had already forgiven him, not for his sake, but for mine. To unchain myself from the bitterness that nearly buried me, I replied with one line: I hope you find your peace too. Then I closed the laptop and turned back to my sketchpad. Elias had commissioned me to design our new studio's logo. Our shared dream, a cozy design boutique and workshop where we'd mentor young creatives. He walked in moments later with coffee and a croissant. What are you working on? He asked. Our future, I smiled. He leaned down and kissed my temple. And just like that, the past became a closed chapter, not erased, but no longer bleeding. Years passed. Our studio grew slowly, steadily, beautifully. We taught. We mentored. We built something meaningful together. Not just a business, but a life full of patience, laughter, and grace. Elias and I had arguments, of course. We disagreed on paint colors, on dinner plans, on vacation spots, but we never weaponized silence. We never made love conditional. And every time I looked into his eyes, I saw a mirror reflecting the version of me I had fought so hard to become braver, softer, wiser. One rainy afternoon, as I sat by the window with a cup of chamomile tea, watching the world blur behind the glass, I received a message from a former classmate. She had watched my journey online through blogs, design projects, glimpses of my life with Elias. She wrote, "You don't know how much your story healed me. I went through something similar and I thought I was broken. But seeing you now, it gives me hope." I cried reading it, because somewhere along the line, my pain had transformed into someone else's survival guide. That's the strange magic of healing. It doesn't just free you, it frees others too. Looking back, I no longer mourned what I lost, I honored it. I honored the heartbreak, the betrayal. The moment I lay on that cold asphalt thinking everything was over, because it wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a new me, of a real love, of a life not dictated by what others thought I deserved, but one I chose every single day. So, to anyone listening who has been shattered, who has loved someone who never deserved their heart, who's been replaced, erased, overlooked, I want you to know, your story doesn't end at betrayal. Your healing doesn't need anyone's permission, and your worth was never tied to someone else's inability to see it. You are allowed to begin again. You are allowed to become, and one day you'll look in the mirror and smile, not because you were rescued, but because you rescued yourself. Thanks for watching. Hoped you liked it. If you watched till the end, please comment love, so that we could understand you were with us till the end. As well as, please let us know, where are you watching from? Before leaving, please hit the subscribe button, comment your thought and share with your nearest and dearest one. See you in the next one. Until to the next one, spread love.